Welcome to Build by People Leaders podcast, brought to you by Adra AI, your AI-powered coach for leaders in tech. I'm your host, Daria Rudnik, and this show is for HR and L&D leaders in scale-ups and fast-growing companies, those who are building AI-ready organizations. And today I have a very special guest with me, Dr. Mary C. Kelly, a retired U.S. Navy commander, economist, and executive leadership advisor. She works closely with HR, C-suite, and L&D leaders inside fast-growing organizations who are trying to do two hard things at once: building leadership capability at speed and earn credibility at the executive table while everything is changing. So thanks for being here, Mary. I'm so excited to have this conversation.
Now is the best time ever to be a human resources director because things are changing and HR is leading.
I love it. Okay. That's an amazing start. Well, tell us about your journey. I mean, you've been in so many different roles. Tell us about that.
I was very fortunate. I was in the US Navy for about 25 years. Most of that time was in Asia. So I am very accustomed to dealing with big people issues. At the height of my responsibilities, I was in charge of about 26,000 people, billion-dollar budgets, large areas like military bases, lots of buildings, lots of logistics, things like that. So I am used to dealing with very big problems, but every big problem is solved by one person doing their job. And that's why HR is so important.
I love it. And well, you've worked with huge organizations, thousands of people, big budgets. But now you helping like companies in scale ups and fast growing companies that are much smaller. What advice, what can you bring on the table with them? How your experience helps them?
One of the things I tell all of my C-suite leaders, my CEOs, my CFOs, everybody, is if you don't have your HR director sitting at that table, you are making a critical error and it will cost you. It's going to cost you in money. It's going to cost you in people. It's going to cost you in talent. Because right now, we have every organization has a challenge. And I use an acronym for this. It's a US acronym. I apologize for the English, but it is: how do we be armed? How do we attract, recruit, and retain, mentor, manage, evolve, and develop not just our people, but the organization? So we need to attract the right people, and then we need to keep the right people. And the way you keep the right people is, yes, you manage them, but more importantly, you mentor them. And then we have to evolve our thinking. And that means leading the organization. And right now, and I know we're going to talk about it, AI is a huge part of this revolution that we are seeing. And we as HR need to be leading that, because operations isn't, sales isn't. We've got to be the ones leading this. And then we have to develop not only our people, but we've got to be the ones to develop our bosses, our leaders. So many times people think of the HR person as an ancillary job that just handles problems when the problems occur. But a good HR director is going to be there to prevent the problems from erupting in the first place. And they're going to be the ones when somebody says, we want to do that. A lot of times people say, well, HR is going to tell me why I can't. Between HR and the lawyers, they're going to tell me why I can't. And I'm here to say HR is going to tell you this is how we're going to do this. HR is all about the how and the possibilities. So again, the acronym I love is ARMED. How do we attract, recruit and retain, mentor, manage, evolve and develop our current and next generation of leaders, but also our clients and our customers? Because wouldn't it be great if our clients and customers never looked for anywhere else except working with us? And that's what we want.
I love it. I mean, I love the acronym. And what the thing you said about HR helping leaders and kind of developing leaders and sharing, like saying how they can do things. The question is, when you tell like someone, your clients, your CEOs, you work with someone you work with, that they need to invite their HR to the table, that's one thing. Well, let's say someone is in HR in a medium-sized company, and they don't have anyone to tell their CEO that they need to be invited. how can they earn their place at the table? How can they prove themselves? How can they do that?
Many times people look at HR as not part of the C-suite, which is a huge mistake. And if your organization is taking that path, you need to correct it. And here's why. I was an HR director. I was an HR director for about 3,000 people. And in that job, I worked for a man who was not very smart. I'll be honest. He wasn't very smart. And every day I would go in his office and say, what problems are you dealing with today? And he would go down the list of problems. And I would say, of those problems, which ones do you want me to handle? And he would go, oh, wait, you can handle all these problems? I'm like, yes, boss, that's what I do. And he's like, okay. And at the end of the day, I would come back and tell him I solved all these problems. And then I would repeat that the next day and the next day and the next day. And then finally I said, boss, you know that morning meeting you have with everybody else where you discuss all the problems? Maybe I should be at that morning meeting so that we don't have to have this conversation every single day and waste your time. Number one, a good HR director takes work off the boss's plate. That's critical. When your boss sees you as the solution to the problems, now it's not just they invite you to the table, they assume you're going to be at the table. And if you're not at the table, you say, boss, I need you to understand that I would be more effective if I had a better idea of everything else that's going on. I need to be at the table. And then you debrief them afterwards. You're the one who's got their ear. So then you say, by the way, this is happening because of this and this and this, and this is how we're going to fix it. Show up and have the solutions. And that is how you not only earn your seat at the table, but you become the most important person at the table, even if you're not the one doing most of the talking.
So much agree. I love that. Like solving problems, because in many cases, I did that as well, can come into my CEO and say, hey, here is the problem. I need you kind of to do this, this, and that. Again, sharing my problems with them. We have problems with people. We have bad retention. We have low engagement. We need to like pour more money into leadership development rather than asking what they see as a problem and help them solve them. Like there was a case when the sales were not good in this product. So what we do? We train people how to either do better product or sell better, something that can help business grow, something that solves their problems, not adding more problems to their plate. Yeah, I
That's
love that.
exactly right. And let's face it, most of the issues we deal with are people issues. I'm fond of saying that in a relationship or in business, the way you get things done is people. The way you screw things up is also people. So we have to make sure we do it right. And it is so much more efficient and more effective and better cost savings if we just do it right from the beginning. And so one of the things I love to do is just say, I know that in the past, a lot of HR directors kind of acted like a school teacher, telling people what they couldn't do. You can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do that. So as a result, people got the idea that if they had to go to talk to HR, it was kind of being sent to the school principal's office. That's how they felt. And instead, position yourself as a strategist to help people do the things they want to do. We want to launch this new product, and it's going to be more work for the marketing team and the sales team and the design team. Now, how do we sell it to those people so that they don't say, oh no, this is more work, I need more money, this is new responsibility? What you do, this is one of the things I did, is we are going to create like the A team, a selective team of people who, if you are selected for this, this is a very big honor, and you're going to be at the forefront, and you meet with the CEO, and you meet with this team of core people, and you're going to be the first to know. So people were competing to get on this A team because it meant that they were super special. And at the end of the day, we all know what people want is to feel valued by their boss, by their supervisor, and by the organization. We know people want to be heard. We know people want to feel like they're part of something bigger than themselves. We know that people want a sense of identity, not everybody the same, but they want a sense of identity, a sense of shared common interest, and they want excitement at work. We know that studies show employees view relationships at work more important than the supervisors. The supervisors tend to think of employees as more transactional, where employees are looking for that relationship. They want to feel special. So if you can help people feel like they are part of something really special and exclusive, they will not only rise up to that occasion and deliver what you need, but they're going to be excited about doing it in the process.
I'm sure you've had those kind of bosses who think we're here to pay them. We're not here to like entertain them, motivate them, like share, create this A+ players team. They need to do the job. How do you deal with those people?
Well, I was coaching a CEO who we were walking. I remember this. We were in New York City and we're walking into his big building, and I'm walking kind of next to him. And people are saying, "Oh, good morning, Mr. Smith. Good morning, Mr. Smith. Good morning. How are you, Mr. Smith? Hello, Mr. Smith." And he ignored them. He was rude. And we get up to his office and I'm like, "What was that?" And he's like, "What do you mean?" I said, "People are saying hello to you and you are ignoring them." And he says, his words, he says, "They pay me to run this company, not be nice to people." You know what? I said, "You're right. You are paid to run this company. But I'm going to tell you that one of the reasons this company works or not is because of these people. In fact, that's the biggest reason. And if you're not nice to these people, you should not be surprised when they show up and they're not giving you 100%. And Gallup just came out with a worldwide poll last week that said 22% of employees are engaged at work, which means, easy math, 78% of your employees are not fully engaged. And it's because of stuff like this. If you were just nice to people, people would be better engaged. People would be more productive. People would be better at their jobs. People would tell their friends that this is a great place to work. But you're just being mean and rude. And that is a turnoff, not only for them, but for me, for your clients. Who wants to see this? So then he said, same guy, he says, "Well, I guess I could fake caring about people." Lord. So sure, go ahead. Fake being authentic. Go ahead. And I said, "Okay, we're going to start small." I said, "We're going to go back downstairs and we're going to walk through these people. And this is what you're going to do. I want you to walk over to these people. We're going to choose 5. We're going to start small, 5. And I want you to walk over and say, 'Good morning. It is very nice to see you.' Hold out your hand, shake their hand, and say, 'Thanks for being here today.'" That's all it takes. That's all it takes. So we did that, and people were like, "Oh." So all of a sudden the guy is being, they're a little suspicious at first. And so they're like, "Nice to see you. Nice to see you." A little suspicious. And we get back up to his office. I said, "Now, that took 7 minutes. What do you think is going to happen next?" He's like, "I don't know." I said, "They're going to go talk to their friends and say, 'Mr. Smith just talked to me.' Did he talk to you?" They're going to feel a little bit special. Even suspicious, they'll feel special. I said, all you have to do is do that every day. And now, instead of 5, we're going to go to 10. We're going to do more. And he says, "I don't have time for this." They always say that. I said, "You know what? You don't have time not to. If you have to make a decision between answering 2 more emails about something that's not important or telling people that they are important, I'm going to tell you, you need to err on the side of the people."
I love the story. That's an amazing story. It's a great example. And like, since you mentioned Gallup research with 22% people engaged, and sometimes it's 22, sometimes it's 28, but I think it's never above 30. The interesting thing is that when people join your company, they are engaged, 100% engaged. So all of your people at some point of time were 100% engaged, and then they lost their motivation. So there was no need to motivate people or engage people. Just shake their hands, say how thankful you are, build good processes, create amazing organization. They will stay engaged because they came to you engaged.
It's exactly right. And we demotivate people, which means we can also motivate people. If people showed up motivated and now they're not motivated, somebody along the way demotivated them. There's always the question, can you actually motivate people? I would say yes, because you can definitely demotivate them. If you can demotivate them, you can certainly motivate them.
Well, You mentioned AI, and I love the topic, and it's a huge influence. It changes work dynamics, it changes how we think and how we work. And obviously, HR need to be part of this AI transformation in organization. But in most cases, we're not. In most cases, there is either CTO or chief, like someone in charge of R&D, or even chief AI officer, but not HR. Why do you think that is?
Yes. Okay. So, because AI is technology, we tend to think the technology people are going to lead the AI revolution, and that is simply not true. And here's why. Their job is to get the tool, which is the AI, into your hands, but they don't know how you're using it. So, because they're not using it like you are, they can't lead this. It's the difference between the person who builds the bicycle and the person who rides the bicycle. You, HR, you are riding the bicycle. And when you're riding the bicycle, you know how the gears work. You know if the brakes are working. You know when it's comfortable. The person who builds the bicycle and never rides the bicycle has a totally different relationship with the bicycle. AI is a tool. Your IT department, they're fabulous, but they're not using it like you are. So when you think of all the possibilities of AI, and I would even ask AI, I would go into Claude and Perplexity and Chat and Gemini and all of them. And I love all of them. I have the suite where you have the full component of about 3,000 different tools. And I go in there and I try to do something with AI every single day because I need to learn. So it's something that you have to learn every day. Just try it 15 minutes, put it on your calendar with your morning cup of coffee or tea, whatever you like, and just spend 15 minutes learning. Make an effort to learn, number one, because you are the user. Second, your IT department is going to help you make sure that you're not getting into a place that's going to compromise your systems. That's their job. And I get that. But you're going to have to be the one to lead it for everybody else. Sales isn't going to lead this. Marketing's not going to lead this. Operations isn't going to lead this in most cases. So when you find a tool that you think might be helpful, this is how you embed yourself with your leadership by being helpful. You say, we are hiring 3 more people in this year. So my gentle suggestion is this is how you take your job descriptions, and this is how we are using AI to make these job descriptions more interesting. Boom, here's this. The problem is in many organizations, people think hiring, firing, that's HR's problem. No, it is everybody's issue. But you have to get them into that, because if people just pigeonhole you as the person who does the hiring and firing, they are not engaged in the hiring and firing. I had one guy in one department and he was horrible with his people. And he says, I'm just going to have to keep, having people hired and fired until HR sends me good people. It had nothing to do with HR. It had everything to do with he was just a terrible boss. So again, this goes back to the part where we have to mentor and manage our leaders and lead our leaders. That's our job, is to lead our leaders. If I'm an HR director today, I would say, hey, go into one of these AIs. How can I, as the HR director of this company, better use AI to support my people? And look at the suggestions and then say, okay, I like that idea. How do I do this better using AI? How do I make a presentation stronger? How do I do better company research? How do I help find candidates in places that we haven't perhaps looked? Ask AI to help you use AI. I know that sounds crazy.
I love that. I mean, again, it's a great learning tool. A lot of people, majority of people using AI for learning. And so if you're not familiar with this tool, go and try it. And obviously, like you said, if companies going into AI transformation, well, someone has built the tool, but someone will be using the tool, and someone HR need to train people and help them learn how to use the tool, help people get together and decide on kind of what is the policies, what's the governance for this AI, because it cannot be decided by, again, by tech people, by lawyers. It needs to be a collaborative effort to create those policies and governance, and HR are the ones who can facilitate that. And it's a lot about how our brain works, about critical thinking, evaluating AI outputs, how you work with it. And again, that's HR job to train people on that. So like fully support HR definitely need to be part of this. And if you're not there yet, go to ChatGPT and Claude and learn. It's fun. I promise it's gonna be fun.
Is. And the other thing that I've seen very recently was somebody, I mean, again, I was in the company and somebody said, yeah, we're going to hire, a 20-year-old to manage our AI. I said, whoa, whoa, whoa. They don't know anything either. So everybody thinks it's a generation thing that is AI. I'm like, they don't know anything either. They didn't grow up with this. Nobody did. This is brand new. I said, there's nothing from stopping you at your age. The guy was about 50. I said, you need to be smart on this because it's a tool. This is like you owning a construction company and not understanding how a hammer works. You have to understand how the tools work. There's nothing that says your younger folks are going to be any better at this than you are. So you've got all this experience, and are you telling me you don't want to learn? And he actually looked at me and said, I'm tired. I'm not sure I can understand it. And that's when I realized, Daddy, that he's a little bit scared. He's a little bit scared of looking dumb, of not understanding, and he's a little bit worried about being pushed out because he doesn't understand. And I'm like, look, nobody understands it. We're all learning together, but you got to be willing to learn at every age.
That's a great point. I mean, no one knows. I mean, we're still in this experimentation stage. There were no clear answers. Even if you are a AI developer, there's still lots that you don't know about AI.
And people are saying the pace of change is very fast. It is. And I had a group of people yesterday, and I said, you know how it feels like things are moving really quickly? This is as slow as technology is ever going to be for the rest of your life. It's just going to get faster. And they all went, oh.
I love the stories you're sharing. I know we have one story. We'll keep it till the end. And it's a story about how being a chat director can actually prepare you to become a chief of police and CEO. Why being a HR director is the best training to become a great CEO. We'll tell the story later. But for now, I want to ask kind of some questions about you, some rapid fire questions. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. Are you a tea person or coffee person?
Coffee.
Dogs or cats?
Dogs. I have two.
Are you a morning person or a night owl?
Morning. At night, I get sleepy and I like to go to bed early.
Do you prefer to take a message or a phone call?
Messages, because I can take a message quickly and respond really quickly. I love talking to people, but if it's just something fast, like, can you get this done? Do this, do that. To me, messages are very efficient and I love efficiency.
Okay. What did you want to be when you were a kid?
I wanted to become a veterinarian more than anything. More than anything, I wanted to save all the dogs and cats and gerbils and turtles and parrots and ferrets and everything else.
And now you have two dogs.
Now I just have two dogs.
Where do you go when you need perspective?
I will do two things. If I need to clear my head, I will read a fiction book on something I would never pay attention to. Most of my work, it's all reading business books, leadership books, people books, all that. When I need to give my brain a break, I will read a fiction book about something that has nothing to do with work.
What's one rule you've broken but don't regret?
Well, I'm a big fan of not breaking the law in general, like the law, but there was a time when I needed for someone else needed to collect an insurance policy. And the person who could authorize this had died. And in order to get the death certificate, I needed a signature. And well, I may or may not have forged that signature of somebody who had died. I had their ID, I had their permission, but still, they were kind of dead.
Yeah, well, that's a story.
That's a little weird, I know.
What's one habit or phrase that people say it's totally you?
Get it done. We say that, get it done, get her done in the South of the United States, get it done. They will say that I'm that person who's going to get it done.
Oh, that's amazing. Cool. Well, thank you so much, Mary. It was great having this conversation. We still have the story to share, so stay with us. But before we go to the story, how people can reach out to you, how they can have continue this conversation with you.
My website is productiveleaders.com. I am Mary, Mary, at productiveleaders.com. I do answer all my own emails. And at productiveleaders.com, if you do that plus /free, you're going to get a whole host of free business resources. Checklists, productivity guides, leadership guides, all kinds of things, totally free, no sign in. We just want to help people be better leaders.
Great. Okay, all the links are in the notes to this episode, so make sure you follow those links, download those materials, and become better leaders. Well, okay, now please tell us the story. Like, why do you think HR, being HR director, is the best preparation for becoming a CEO?
I think HR directors have all of the skills that makes a great CEO. The number 3 things, the top 3 things that gets CEOs fired are they don't understand HR issues. They don't understand the rules around hiring and firing people. HR directors do. The number 2 thing, they don't understand industry regulations. Even if they work in that industry, if you're a construction CEO, you have to understand the industry regulations around construction. HR directors understand the regulations. They have to, because that's part of the hiring process, is knowing what you're hiring. The number 3 issue that gets CEOs in trouble and gets them fired is they get in financial trouble. They don't understand all of the budgetary constraints, restraints, and the process. Guess who understands that? The HR directors. Why? Because they're working closely with your chief financial officers. They're working with the accountants. They are managing budgets every day. So the top 3 skill sets that people need, HR, this is just in terms of knowledge. HR, industry regulations, and finance, HR directors do. But the number 1 thing that gets CEOs into trouble is they fail to make a human connection with the people who could make them the most successful. Every single HR director I know got into HR because they love people and they really want to help people do well. And if every CEO could understand that, they'd be successful.
Amazing. Well, that's your playbook to becoming a CEO, to becoming an amazing HR director. Thanks for sharing this. Thanks for sharing your story and all of those insights that you have. Connect with Mary Kelly on LinkedIn, go to her website, download materials. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure.